Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So the Northdark Divided Battle Pass Part 3 is finally live, harnessing the decay. And we can see with it we can obtain these nice rewards. The top half is all free, you just have to play the game a bit, and we'll go into exactly how in a second, but it's the same as all the other parts. And the bottom section is all paid. So you would need this premium pass in order to take advantage of those, basically gaining double the amount of rewards. But if you are to have that premium pass, you can obtain this legendary Northdark choice pack, which we will cover in this video and help you make your decision what you should choose from there. The rest is fairly straightforward, you just claim it and you get the rewards, no choices. Very nicely on the free track, this time around we have a free coalescent mote. So you just play the game and you can get this coal mote and use that, whether that be for upgrading your enchantments or maybe a color or two, but only when they're going from legendary to mythic, as you only really need a coalescent mote when you have a 1% chance. You can make it a 2% chance with these, but you'll still be spending a lot of preservation wards to protect this stuff, and a coal mote can just end up cheaper. And currently they go for nearly 900k on the auction house, so not exactly the cheapest. That's some nice value as a free reward just by playing the game. So how will you obtain all this stuff? Well, very simply by doing your heroic encounters in your Northdark reaches. Just keep in mind, you can read there, they have to be the major heroic encounters, and that means the ones with these borders. You can see all three are active right now: From Darkness, Fungal Frenzy, and Prison Break. You need to do one of those three and it will give you the experience, this 75 Battle Pass XP, which will give you 75 points on this track, up to a maximum of 4,000 for ultimately obtaining the coal mote. And additionally, you can do a random dungeon queue, whether that be just the standard dungeon queue or the advanced dungeon queue, it does not matter. So just go for the dungeon queue, nice and easy. And then also a random skirmish or trial queue. So again, you can just join the skirmish queue, nice and easy. Trial queue will give you a bit more in terms of raw fast roll diamonds and potentially a bit better loot, but yeah, much harder to get a group together for that 10 people required. And you can see the dungeon queue will give you 135 XP and the skirmish 115. So in total, you should take just over 12 days in order to fully complete this, getting those 4,000 points, as long as you do each of those tasks every day. Just be aware that to get those heroic encounters, to actually go and do them, to access this zone, if you haven't done so already, you would have to be 50,000 item level. And before we jump into the rewards, just be warned that the date at which it says the battle pass will end, March the 21st, is wrong. That will only be the case when you have the premium pass unlocked, having bought it with Zen. This final part actually ends, as we can see, on March the 14th, as each milestone only runs for 5 weeks. If you have the premium pass again, you'll be able to complete it up until March the 21st. So back to the battle pass and its rewards. You can see the first reward there for free is 15 mount tokens and 15 companion tokens. Then an astral lockbox, then 2 enchanted keys, and finally your coalescent mote. So some decent value there with regards to just free rewards just by playing the game. I do recommend doing random queues anyway, just to get your daily rough AD. Skirmish queue and a dungeon queue take you less than half an hour to get those done with a moderate group. But otherwise, if you do buy the premium pass, which is going to cost you, as you can see, 2,500 Zen, but you can get that discounted by 20% if you just use invocation coupons opening these celestial bags of refining. You can get a coupon. It's a chance though to get 20% off everything, and that will include the one that you can get to discount the premium pass. But if you do decide to get that, you'll get 4 more keys there. You'll get 10 greater shards. Greater shards go for like 70,000 astral diamonds, so it's like 700,000 worth value there, but you won't be selling it, it'll be bound. And then another 30 tokens there, split between mounts and companions, and ultimately this choice pack. Now this choice pack will give you a choice of one of the following. And if you have everything in there, you could just get a legendary insignia, and there you go. Now, we have all of those rewards, and I want to go through them with you. So your first choice is the Frost Salamander, which is going to be this mount. I would only take it for the visuals. The rest, it's kind of pointless unless you need the equip power of Critical Strike. It goes for very cheap, so I personally wouldn't take it from this box. Next up is the Dragon Bone Golem, which is this one. It's the legendary variant. You can get a mythic variant, much like Salamander. Again, I would only take it if you need like the rapid accuracy. The Dragon Bone Whirl is nothing too special. Yes, okay, it can be useful, especially if you run the Reaper's Challenge, because within there, it will allow you to still use it even though you might have no mount combat power. So we can join and I can show you. If you have 100% mount bolster and you do get that Dragon Bone mount upgraded, that Dragon Bone Whirl, this is the one from the mythic version, will have a ton of magnitude and damage. It just takes time to deal that damage, and within an AoE fight, that's not too great, and within an artifact call with a burst damage, 10 seconds maybe just about okay. But we can see here, Reapers, we can still use that ability, the mount combat power, despite it's supposed to be locked. Yeah, so that's a kind of a cheat, a bit of a getaway around that debuff of no mount combat powers. I believe the Salamander does the same, but the Salamander's power is pretty useless. But that Dragonbone Golem, again, is also pretty cheap. Well, okay, maybe not, actually. One of them's cheap. The rest are over 600k. So the next option from the pack is the Black Unicorn, which is this one right here. What it has special for it is the Dark Vortex. Unfortunately, it only has 600 magnitude, and so will deal less damage than the competition, which is this legendary Flying Carpet, which can have 700. However, their effects are very similar and will just cause an area on the ground to suck enemies together. The Vortex can be a little bit easier to wield since you can target that area. We'll take the Vortex, this one again just being the mythic version, but they're basically the same. It allows you when like in combat to target, let's say, this area, and will pull all enemies towards the center. And the legendary Flying Carpet is very similar. However, you target it on an enemy like we do right here. Go in combat, we can use our whirlwind or our vortex, and there you go. That was the carpet. I feel it does more damage. Well, it actually does. It's got a bit higher magnitude, and it's just a bit easier only having to click it once. But yeah, I guess the Vortex can be useful, and especially for a support where that damage doesn't really matter. Again, you can buy this for as little as, yeah, like 240,000 astral diamonds. So not probably the best value from this pack. The next option is the Lich Companion, and he's account wide. Now, I only have the epic version, which is this guy right here, as he doesn't actually come in a legendary variant before. This is actually new, and it's actually very good because this Lich has the ability of Undying Overlord, and basically as a tank this is one of the best powers because it just straight up reduces the incoming damage all the time, everywhere, from everything. So instead of using statistics, let's say like 7.5% defense, you could use the Undying Overlord with 7.5% damage resistance, which is going to be better than defense. Now, I have tested this guy out, and he does seem to work, at least when you're not blocking. When you are blocking, it's hard to test because Combat Tracker, it does not show that you take any damage, and on top of that, the damage numbers are random on the enemies because they still have a random base damage. But you can check the effectiveness, And without blocking, you can see our base is like 46% effectiveness. And with the Lich, when we're not blocking, the effectiveness goes down to 42.7%. So we are seeing a reduction in damage we take, and so it is working. And ultimately, I would go for it. And that is unique from this battle pass as well, because it's a Lich on legendary and account wide, so you can get it on all of your alts at that rarity. You can again go and yes, get the epic version if you have a bunch of tokens and you're willing to spend it on your other characters. There's only 3 tank classes in the game: your fighter, paladin, and barbarian, so there's only 3 to go around. But I would say it's probably your best choice from this pack as we move to the next options, which is this Dragon Hunter. Companion itself is pretty garbage. That's likewise with the Lich. He's also pretty garbage as summoned. I wouldn't use him there. You only use him for the powers. And the Dragon Hunter is useful with its Dragon's Bane, increasing the damage you deal against dragons. Now, I wouldn't say it's all that useful right now because yes, you do have dragon hunts, and if you are running those a lot, it could be useful in there. But in terms of endgame content, yes, you would have, let's say, Rise of Tiamat you could use it in. But most people will want to run with like a Raptor, a Batiri, and the Knight, rather than, let's say, the Dragon's Bane for the damage bonus, as the Knight will contribute to your damage against everything in there because you aren't only fighting dragons. Ultimately, I don't see it as such a good choice, especially since you can buy that thing again for like a little less 250k. Then we have the Shadow Elemental, which I think is just a pure waste. There's nothing going for it at all. It's a terrible companion other than increasing a bit of their stats, but I don't see that as a big deal either. And otherwise, you could choose a legendary insignia. So if you're not a tank and don't want to go for the account wide Lich legendary variant, then it doesn't really matter. You're going to have to upgrade these legendary mounts if you want them already. You might be just better getting the mythic versions, and the other companions are just not too great. Yes, Dragon Hunter could be useful for a damage dealer, but that really requires specific content against dragon creatures. Crown of Keldagon, pretty useless trial at the moment. It could be very handy within there. So hopefully this was somewhat insightful to you guys, helping you out what you should choose and a bit of just basics on how to actually obtain those rewards. Again, very nice to see a free Coalescent Mote as like the top reward there from just playing the game a bit. Special thank you to all of these channel members for their continued support, and we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.